Welcome to the Hell Fucking Yeah podcast. Andy Sanesi, thank you so much for being here, man.
My pleasure.
Hell Fucking Yeah. So how's things going these days, man?
That's a loaded question, Mike.
Yeah.
I mean, as we speak, there's multiple protests going on around the country. Half the country on fire, and this state included.
Mm-hmm.
There's a lot going on. Political divisiveness. The country's kind of, obviously very on edge. Personally, if I go micro and just focus on my own world and my work and what I need to do, things are okay.
Mm-hmm.
I'm healthy. I also forgot to mention the pandemic is also a thing.
That's a thing. That's definitely a thing.
depending who you talk to. But yeah, man, in my little microcosm, I keep my head down and I just do my job and I try to maintain sanity by, spending time with my family and getting out in the water on my paddleboard and playing some drums and, just doing my regular job. And I'm thankful that I have a regular job and I'm not just solely relying on music anymore, because I would be in a bad place, but I'm not, so I'm okay. But thanks for asking.
Yeah, no, I feel you, man. I'm the same way. I'm kind of I stay in my own little bubble. Yeah. I try to stay out of the whole, left and right side and all that stuff. It's too fucking crazy for me. As far as the fires go, I know you're in California. Has it affected you in any way, or had you?
I mean, other than a little bit of smoke and haze from the fire, it really hasn't affected us much in Santa Monica. Strangely, the winds are blowing in some kind of odd, almost what looks like, if you look at a satellite picture, kind of counterclockwise direction. So it's taking the winds, the air from up north where most of the fires are, and recirculating some of it down to us, which, typically weather just goes west to east across the country typically, but there's some weird winds going on. So we got a little bit of that for a couple of weeks. You look at the iPhone weather app and it says unhealthy air quality or smoke.
Yeah, thanks, Apple. Thank you. Yeah.
But, aside from that, where most of us are wearing masks anyway, whatever side you're on, it's not really that much to ask to put on a stupid mask. And so I do it. Sure. Fortunately, me and my family have been not exposed or haven't gotten sick. So, I mean, that's the most important thing, is making sure that the family's healthy and I can still provide and all that stuff. But yeah, ultimately, I feel pretty lucky considering everything that's going on. It's a fucking mess out there, man. I've never, it's so obvious and generic to say, oh, well, these are such crazy times. It's like, yeah, they are certainly really fucked up times right now. But, I act like things are going to not normalize, because what does that even mean? But I act as if there is going to be a future. Some people like, it's the end of times, and it's just like, I think it's kind of a bit arrogant to think that the world's going to end in our lifetime or whatever that means. I mean, we destroy ourselves some way, and then the Earth's just going to go like, gross. Humans are gone, thankfully. Now we can get back. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So I act as if this is going to end, and we're going to continue on. And I know a lot of people like, oh, I'm not paying my rent anymore. It's just like, yeah, pretty short-sighted, because once you normalize and the initial tidal wave of evictions are over, you're going to have to, you're going to be beholden to the system, and you're going to be screwed. So you want to set yourself up for the best possibility of success if there is future, which I'm betting on,
Sure. Yeah. Some people, I think, use this time period to maybe reflect on what's more important in their lives. Or, get closer with family or anybody really.
Yeah.
Which is definitely something I did. I got this out of it. you know, so there's a silver lining, but you can't say fuck it and just throw everything in, you know, in a fire and, you know,
Yeah.
no pun
I mean,
intended.
yeah. I mean, if you're, you know, if you're a late teen or in your 20s or even your early 30s, and you don't have a lot going on, and you know you kind of fancy yourself a contrarian or some kind of conspiracy theorist, you know, you're foaming at the mouth because there's so much to choose from right now, you know. But it's just like the older you get. I mean, I was the pain in the ass kid that was always late on the rent because I was relying on music, you know, and gigs and you know, partying maybe a little too much and be, you know, like to talk too much. That really hasn't changed. But, you know, the bottom line is you get older and you realize it's like, yeah, okay, you know, it's not that what you think could happen likely won't happen, you know.
Right.
And the things that are going to happen are the things that have always been happening. Like you're always going to have to pay rent. You're going to die. You know,
Mm-hmm.
you got to feed yourself. You got to take care of your family. You know, like you said, kind of, it's kind of this time has been a good way to kind of reset your moral compass.
Yeah, absolutely.
Good or bad. You know, some people
Right.
are all in on the anarchy and chaos, and you know, but I think it's a little bit irresponsible.
Yeah. No, absolutely.
Coming
Absolutely.
from Captain Irresponsibility of my former life, it's I'm like, oh, get off my,
No.
you know, it is what it is.
Listen, I would say every 20 years or so, there's something insane that happens that causes everyone to feel the same way. Like, oh, this is the end of times and blah, blah, blah. But it never really does fucking end. So.
For better or worse.
Exactly.
Yeah,
So,
man.
well, let's talk about why we're here. Andy is the current drummer for Frankie, Valli and the Four Seasons and the band Missing Persons. Also your own band, Blanco Diablo.
Yep.
So you've worked and continue to work with some of the biggest names in the industry, really. Sebastian Bach, El King, Postmodern Jukebox, Eminem, Rihanna, Aloe Black, Nick Hexum of 311, just to name a few. So, I mean, the list goes on and on. I'm not going to go crazy. But wow, first of all, that's fucking insane. You know, the drummer is most often the guy in the background, but more importantly, they're the backbone and the heartbeat of all music to me. So when did you start drumming and what attracted you to it?
Well, you know, it's again back to the bringing all the cliches. You know, I used to legitimately, you know, pull the pots and pans out of the kitchen cabinet when my mom was cooking in the, you know, in my house in Glen Cove, Long Island, represent.
Oh yeah, there we go. That's where I am.
And I used to beat the hell out of the pots and pans with wooden spoons, you know. And then my dad always loved jazz, so the house was always full of you know, Count Basie, Louis Armstrong, Duke Ellington, Miles, Charlie Parker, Dizzy, you know, Oscar Peterson, you name it. My dad was a real jazz enthusiast, and I loved it since I was a kid. And one day we were at my buddy's house just down the street. He had a pool, so it was during the summer. There was a party, all the kids were hanging out, and they happened to have a little drum set, or a little red sparkle drum set in the basement. And I went inside to, you know, use the bathroom, and a few of the dudes were like trying to play the drums, and it was kind of a, you know, a bit of a disaster. And they were all a little bit older than me, and I think I was probably like 6 or 7. And I went up to the drums and I was like, "Can I try?" They're like, "Beat it, you little guy." You know, I go, "No, let me try." I sat down and I didn't like it, just like I could just play immediately, like not like crazy, but I sat down and I just played a beat. I even remember the beat I played. I was like, got, and then I started going. Dun, 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 dun. I started playing. I started with quarter notes, and then I immediately just went to eighth notes. Like I remember it like it was yesterday. It's crazy, but they were all kind of like, "This isn't fun anymore. Let's go do something else." And I stayed in the basement. I think my dad came inside and saw me just doing what I was doing, and he was like, So he actually like maybe 6 months later, he got a set of Slingerlands from his buddy Louis that owned the restaurant in Seacliff, next town over, and his son Charles actually gave me lessons a few years later. Charles Giardina, he doesn't play anymore, but he was a great drummer. I think he might play as a hobbyist. But yeah, my dad got the drums and he was like, these are mine. Don't touch these. And he would go to work and I'd be like, bye. And I'd go and play all day, you know? So I started playing records like Zeppelin and Rush. And then, you know, my dad obviously found out I'd been playing the drums. He wasn't mad. He kind of knew it was going to happen anyway. And I think it was basically his way of, you know, showing that he knew I had some kind of interest. So, you know, he came in one day and I was playing along to probably like, you know, something crazy, like, you know, a Rush record or something. He's like, that's cool. Can you play along to this jazz record? I think he put on like Ella Fitzgerald in Berlin, you know, Gus Johnson on drums. Like, can you play along to this? I'm like, oh yeah, jazz is easy. You know? Meanwhile, like, I had no idea that couldn't be further from the truth. But yeah. So immediately I started playing a bunch of different genres, and that's kind of the thing that always really drew me to the instrument, the fact that it can go in so many different directions. Like, I'm not like fully just like a jazz dude or a metalhead or like a ethnic kind of like guy that's into Brazilian or Cuban music, which I love all of that stuff. I'm not the best at anything. I'm not even close, you know, but I could do everything pretty good, you know. Like I can go to Brazil and hang and sit in with some guys playing some bossa nova and then be like, okay, and, you know, and then I go to Cuba and I probably won't get like looked at too weird, other than the fact that I look like I'm a metalhead. And then like, how come you know how to play, you know, Wallenco? It's like, well, because I love that shit. And they're like, why do you love it? It's like, because it's different. For me, I like variety. That's why, like, just to kind of go back to some other stuff, you know, it's like the way that the country is now, left and right, in my opinion, is the best. And it's like, okay, well, maybe if you try to open up your view a little bit and maybe talk to the other side and understand, you might have a bigger world view. Like all these people that are like, oh, this is the way it is. It's like, you haven't traveled much, clearly, you know, and, I think the worldview is very small. That's why, I mean, to relate it back to the music, there's so much incredible music in the world. Why just be like, I only like metal? Like, I understand, like, I love metal, but I also like, you know, Bill Evans, which is like the furthest thing from metal.
Right,
you know?
right.
So maybe that's a shortcoming of mine. Had I been more steadfast and focused and obsessed over one genre, maybe I, you know, would have been more of a, I don't know, virtuoso in one thing or something. But I get bored. I want to do different stuff. So you know, that's why I recently, this tenor saxophone player in town, Doug Webb, he's a jazz dude. He released a record. It's a trio record with my buddy Brian Charette from New York. He released a CD, and it's, you know, it's jazz, straight ahead jazz. And the singer that was in another rock band, when I moved to LA, I was in this band. We used to play on the Strip, the Sunset Strip, all the time. And it was basically like, you know, coming from New York and moving to LA, it's like I felt like I was in a Motley Crue video. Where it was like, this is still happening, you know? So this singer from one of the other bands, when I posted that the record was coming out, he's like, I had no idea you play jazz. So like every kind of genre or clique, depending on like what music I'm playing in, they're like, oh, that's, you know, Andy, he's the rock guy. Or then you go to, and it's like everyone doesn't know that I love Cuban music or I love metal or whatever, you know? So it's kind of funny. Everyone's like, I didn't know you did that. It's like, well, you never bothered to ask, did you?
Right. Well, I got to say, you're far too humble, because I understand what you're saying as far as like, you know, focusing on one genre and kind of mastering that instead of dabbling in everything. But if you didn't do that, you wouldn't have had the insane resume that you have.
Oh, well, yeah. I mean, you know, thank you.
So,
you know, that's, I mean, I'm not saying like, oh, I wish I'd done that. I'm happy the way that the cards landed, you know, the life I designed. But, you know, at the same time, kind of shifting gears a little bit, like I never really wanted to do anything other than play drums and tour and that stuff. But man, once you, sorry, it's a little hot in here. I'm sweating.
No, it's all good. It's all good. Where are you?
I'm going to go in the other room because I got an AC in there. I'm, you know, getting back to what I was talking about, I'm really glad that I diversified and found a different income stream because of the way that the music business has been going for the last few years.
Right.
It's kind of you need to have something. Now the music industry basically is at a standstill, and all my friends that are only doing music are like, oh my God, what am I going to do? And they're waiting for like stimulus checks, you know, and that's no way. Sure. That's no way to provide. You know?
Right, right. So what are you doing now?
Oh, I manage. You know, when people ask me what I do, you know, I don't even say I'm a drummer. You know, what do you do? So, well, I'm a property manager. I manage a bunch of residential apartment buildings in Los Angeles, mostly on the west side. Yeah, I've been doing that for about 8 years, actually longer, 10, 11, something like that. Yeah. And, you know, I mean, dealing with people in that capacity is a bit of a drag because you only hear from them when something's wrong.
Sure, sure. Yeah, yeah.
Whereas being a musician, it's like you get done doing a gig and people are typically like, oh, you guys sounded great. And it's mostly positive. When the phone rings for the other stuff, it's like, my garbage disposal is broken. It's like, well, so
it's two different worlds completely. Yeah.
It's a thankless job, but it's, you know, I'm grateful for it because, you know, sure. It's reliable, you know?
Yeah. You know, I actually, you know, I've tried a bunch of different instruments. I tried, but I was always attracted to drums. I tried drumming, you know, I took some lessons. I even got like a cheap kit, like a PDP kit or something like that.
Yeah.
And, you know, by the third lesson, I thought it was like fucking Neil Peart, you know, but I definitely was not. You know, I've tried a bunch of other things, but drums was probably the only thing that if you heard me playing it, you wouldn't want to smash your fucking head against the wall until you were unconscious, you know? So it'll always be my favorite. And it was the one I've gotten closest to. But, you know, I try everything. That's how I am. Look at me now. I'm on a fucking podcast. I had no idea I was going to do this.
Well, yeah, I mean, that's the thing, man. The fact that by this time in the year, I would have probably already been on, I don't know, 100 planes, you know, going to various places with Frankie or whoever. And because they pulled the plug on May 15th-ish, you know, and not May, March 15th, excuse me. It was like, okay, you have a lot more time. So it's like, well, what am I going to do? So it's something that you know, your brother does a lot. He's a recording engineer. I finally bit the bullet and figured out how to record myself, which is all this gear you see here, you know?
Oh yeah.
So I've been getting into that. Been kind of studying my Spanish pretty consistently. I sing a lot in my band. Not because I fancy myself a singer, just because I don't want to hire a singer. It's like, oh, you're not going to carry anything and you want to get paid? I'll do it myself.
Yeah. Right.
So I've been, you know, my band, the name of my band's Blanco Diablo, which is kind of tongue in cheek, you know, because like I'm one of the good ones, but it's like, you know, White Devil, you know, obviously there's a bit of tongue in cheek in that. So yeah, a lot of the music we do is Cuban or Puerto Rican, and then we do some Brazilian stuff, and then some kind of heavier stuff, and some groovy funk kind of tunes, and so we improvise a lot. But yeah, so I've been kind of neglecting my, you know, my Spanish, my proper Spanish studying, because like I'll learn the lyrics to like, you know, a bunch of songs, and then people come up to me after the gig and start speaking like Spanish to me really quickly, and I'm like, I don't really speak it per se, but now I'm getting my shit together. I'm about 150 days straight studying. So
wow, that's awesome.
So hopefully in about 1,000 days, so I'm 150 days in about 1,000 days, I feel like I might be able to have a kindergarten level conversation. You know?
Hey, that's more than I can do, man. I know hola, you know, that's pretty much it. So
that's a good one.
That's definitely a good one to know. So do you have anything, like any projects in the works during this whole shutdown, or anything you've been working on or coming out?
I've been I've been doing some recording for various people. I recorded a song from my buddy Pete's band, Griffin Labs. I've been doing in that band for a long time, and it doesn't really exist anymore because we're all so busy doing other stuff.
Sure.
But Pete plays with a lot of different people. So this new album, I don't even know if he's going to call it Griffin Labs. It might be self-titled. But anyway, regardless, the long and short of it is did a track for him. And in addition to me being on the record, I think Danny Carey from Tool is going to be on a track.
Wow.
And this amazing Hungarian drummer, my buddy Gergo. Yeah, you want to talk about a guy that's an incredible virtuoso. This guy is like, I've never seen anything like it. The guy we call him the Hungarian barbarian. He's just, he's a maniac. He's a really great guy too. But yeah, I mean, there's so many wonderful players. I'm just like happy to be in that company. But yes, like I said, Doug's record just came out. Doug Webb's record. It's called Apples and Oranges. I put out a record last year under my name. It's actually the same keyboard player on it, Brian Charette, and my buddy Will Braun plays guitar on it. I do lots of stuff, and I get it done, and then I just move on, and I don't really think about it too much,
Sure.
But the main priority for me now is really kind of getting my studio chops together and getting reliable sounds and being able to navigate that landscape. Meaning, for instance, a friend of mine, Brian Woodbury, just sent me a song to play on, and he sends me the files. I download them, I load them into my computer, dial up my sounds, get it together, record the track, send it back to him. So the idea is to do that with total like second nature vibe, instead of having it be confusing, like, oh my God, how do I do this? And which, it was a nightmare for me first, because I'm very much like, learn how to play the drums, go do that well, and then everything else sorts itself out. Now it's like you have to be, pretty good with technology to a certain extent, and you have to be an engineer, and you have to be able to do all kinds of technical things that I kind of neglected for most of my life. But now it's getting easier. So as I said, my buddy Brian just sent me something yesterday, and as I get more comfortable, the process becomes more streamlined, and hopefully, you don't want to have to be like, hey man, how do I do this? Or hey man, how do I do that? You just want someone to send you the tracks. You download them, record your stuff, send it back to them. No questions. Sounds great. Or, maybe, can you do this or can you do that? But you just want it to be quick and streamlined. So when I did that thing for my buddy Pete, that was at the beginning of, not the beginning, but a few months ago. And I was just learning. So I was like, hey man, did this come through okay? Because I don't know what the hell I'm doing. And they were very kind and they were patient with me. So, because usually like all the records that I've made for the last 25 years or whatever it's been, you show up at a studio and someone else sets up the mics, someone else presses record, makes sure that everything sounds right. You just go in and do your best to play the music. Now I'm doing the job of a bunch of guys. And also on top of that, you got to be able to promote yourself on social media. You got to be able to edit videos in iMovie and sync things. It's just like, wow, okay. So you got to wear a lot of hats, as they say.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
So would you say if things go back to, quote unquote normal, would you be hitting the road again with Frankie Valli, Missing Persons, things like that?
Yeah. I mean, the thing of it is like someone like Frankie, I mean, Frankie's had a 58, 60-year career. I mean, So my man is, he's an octogenarian, so he is high risk as far as the COVID situation goes. So we have to be very careful with that. But I talked to him a few times since lockdown started, maybe 4 or 5 times. And he's like, I'm like, how you doing, Frank? He's like, I'm getting antsy, man. I want to get back out there. It's like, man, like,
that's awesome though.
he's incredible. But yeah, he wants to get back out there. So God willing, we have a couple of dates scheduled that are still on the schedule for December, but they're likely not going to happen. So realistically, we're probably going to kick back in maybe summer of 21, hopefully, but that's the thing. People want to put this pandemic on a schedule, and it's like,
no, there's no way to do it. Yeah.
No. I mean, the bottom line is like, you could just throw caution to the wind and say, screw it, we're going to go full herd, and, the strong will survive kind of mentality. But that's a little bit irresponsible, I think,
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, no, we'll definitely, I'll be back out there. I don't know in what capacity. Frankly, to tell you the truth, man, like, I don't know who's going to be able to, survive this business-wise. I mean, these venues are closed, and the sponsors are all freaked out, and it's like, let's get 10,000 people in a room, together. That's, who's going to want to do that? I think this is fundamentally going to change a lot of things. Like, I think something like shaking hands, that might go away forever, which is kind of okay with me, it's kind of gross. I mean, gross.
Yeah, no, I know what you mean. I know exactly what you mean.
It's like you hang out with a bunch of dudes, and it's like, you just get done scratching your balls, and you got to shake something.
Fair enough. Yeah.
Yeah, I'll pass on that.
Yeah. No, I've always been, I wouldn't say I'm a germaphobe, but I never really wanted to be in large groups of people, I mean, I love going to concerts. I loved things like that, but going to Manhattan, like, I live 2 hours from Manhattan. I hated it the first second, as soon as I get there. The idea of it is great. And then I get there and I'm like, why the fuck am I here?
Yeah, my buddy that I grew up with, he's still one of my best friends to this day, Mark. He's always just like, oh, how do you do it? Like, he grew up on the the beach on Long Island, and I was always like, let's go to the city, and city. He went through a phase, and after that, he was like, it's too gross and crowded, and I want to be out on the island.
I mean, I could take like a 45-minute shower, get in my car, get on the train, and as soon as I get there, I feel like I didn't even take a shower.
Yeah.
As soon as I get there, and I'm like,
I remember feeling like that as a kid, but like once you're in it, and I never thought I'd leave, man. I was just like, I was like, I have New York under my fingernails, and it's just like, New York City's the best place in the world. I love New York, man.
Me too.
But I gotta be honest, man. After 9/11, it was just, for me, it was just never the same.
Yeah.
And I stayed for many years after that. I came out to California in 07. So I experienced it my whole life before, and then a few years after, 6-7 years after, whatever. And, it was still amazing for sure. I mean, the food's the best, period. You ain't going to get any food that's better than New York.
Absolutely.
The music scene is fantastic. I still have lots of friends that live back there. Some of the absolute best musicians in the world. But man, it was kind of an intangible, it's hard for me to articulate why it seemed different, but it was just,
well, it was taken apart in a way, something was taken out of it. That was like, almost like the heart of it, so yeah. So you lived there during 9/11?
Yeah, actually, I was on the road with a band. We were in Portland, Oregon, and we were supposed to fly to Chicago that day. And the road manager, who's a buddy of mine that went to school with me in Boston, he was the road manager, and he called the room that I was staying in with another friend of mine who I still keep in touch with and play with, my buddy Matt Rubano. He's a great bass player. He's in Airwaves, and he was in Taking Back Sunday. Another.
Oh wow, yeah. Oh, I know exactly. Yeah.
Yeah. So I think we were sharing a room, and the road manager calls, like, turn the TV on. I'm like, what? Like, probably hungover and whatever. I turned the TV on, and it was CNN or whatever the news channel was that was reporting it. And I was like, what is this? Like some Steven Seagal movie where they take over the Twin Towers? He's like, no, that shit's happening. It's real.
Yeah.
So, you know, I remember like I said, we're supposed to fly to Chicago for another gig that day. And, you know, obviously that didn't happen. So the four of us got stranded in Portland. And I said to him, I go, look, man, you know, no planes are going to be flying. Let's just rent a car and get going, you know, while we still can. So no, let's just wait it out and see what's up. So a couple of days go by and I go, I don't care. I'm renting the car. Bye. So we convinced them, and it was like four of us. Two of the guys in the band had left the night before. So they got out before the thing happened, back to New York, or to Chicago rather. And we drove from Portland to Manhattan. And I think the van was off basically for a total of maybe 2 hours while we, you know, refueled, got a bag of Cheetos and cigarettes or whatever the hell we were getting, and back in the car. So we made it back, I think, in like an absurd amount of time, maybe a world's record. We just drove around the clock, four of us. Two would sleep, two would stay up and drive. We got back in like 46 hours or something ridiculous, you know?
Yeah.
Maybe 50 hours. Anyway.
Wow. No, that's crazy. So you have a lot of energy, man. You're just moving around a lot.
Yeah, well, I'm a pacer.
That's cool. I'm like that too, man. So I'm just saying this actually because this will be on YouTube, but it's also going to be on podcast apps. So I just want everyone to know that Andy is just like running around. his hair's blowing. His luscious mane is just flying in the wind, man. It's amazing. I'm like that too, man. You know, I sit here for the hour that I do this, but normally I'm pacing, my legs shaking, and I'm bouncing off the fucking walls. So I totally relate.
I just had a cappuccino before we talked, and
there you go.
I typically I pace when I talk. It drives everyone crazy, but
no, I might have a slight case of vertigo if I'm watching the screen. But other than that, I totally relate and totally understand. Yeah. So all right, let's bust into the fun part here. So I'm going to ask you a couple of favorites on the spot. Sure. Favorite drummer.
That's an impossible question, my friend. I can't pick one because, like I said, you know, I'm very eclectic with my musical taste. So we can maybe, you know, let's pick genres. So okay. So who's my favorite rock drummer? If I had a gun to my head, I'd just say John Bonham. You know,
there you go. Awesome.
Yeah. If I said jazz, I would say Tony Williams or Elvin. Tony Williams played with Miles Davis. That was his, you know, big first gig. Elvin Jones played with John Coltrane, whose birthday it was yesterday. Those are basically my jazz gods, you know.
Absolutely.
If you want to talk about Latin stuff, it's like, well, are we talking about percussionists or are we talking about drummers? So, you know, yeah, I mean, so many influences, and it's very difficult to pick favorites. You know, when I was a kid, it was easier. You know, like when I was going through my Rush phase, it'd be like, oh, Neil's my favorite for sure.
Right.
Like, but you know, okay. So Latin stuff, it would be either Horacio El Negro Hernandez or Daphnis Prieto for the Latin stuff. For the Brazilian stuff, I would have to say Portinho. He played on many records with many different artists that, you know, most of the viewers likely would not know, but very much worth checking out. God, what else is there as far as metal dudes? I mean, God, that's easy. Tomas Hake from Meshuggah is definitely my favorite metal drummer.
Yeah,
Meshuggah is like the ultimate death metal band. They're from Sweden, and they've been doing it better than everyone since the 90s. And I've been very fortunate to hang out with Tomas on a few occasions. He's like the nicest dude ever. And I've seen Meshuggah lots of times. And, you know, if you guys don't know Meshuggah, which I don't know how you could not.
I do, yep.
Yeah, you got to check them out because no one does it better. Yeah, so those are the main genres. As far as funk goes, obviously, you know, Zigaboo from the Meters, Clyde Stubblefield from James Brown, God, Mike Clark, Bernard Purdy, so many badasses.
Yeah.
It's endless, man. I got so many favorites. All right, next question.
I know. You know, it's funny you say that because I'm the same way with movies. Like, I'm a huge movie guy.
Yeah.
So people ask my favorite movie, I'm like, fucking impossible. But I can give you like top 40 from each genre. And they're like,
right.
Like there was this like favorite movie thing going around Facebook for a while, and it was like your top 5 movies, and I was like, nah. I wrote like a fucking like a novel, dude, about like a list. I was like, I can't do it.
All these top 10 lists. First of all, it's, you know, like everyone's like, there's always the top 10 favorite drummers. I nominate Andy Sanesi, and I'm just like, pass. It's impossible. You know?
Yeah. So, well, speaking of movies, then, so favorite film genre? Can you narrow it down that way, or?
Well, you know, films are easier for me to talk about. As you can see, I'm wearing the Genco olive oil shirt from The Godfather.
Yep.
You know? That obviously, for me, being Italian and, you know, whatever, those movies are fucking incredible. You know, the 1 and 2 are unbelievable. I also like, you know, off the top of my head, in my lifetime, like The Usual Suspects was amazing.
Oh, yeah.
I like Quentin's stuff a lot. You know, Pulp Fiction, the Kill Bill movies are great. Yeah, you know, stuff like that is for me. I like, you know, I'm a big documentary guy. I love that genre. But you know, your basic kind of pseudo thinking man's stuff I like a lot.
Yeah. So as far as documentaries, would you have a favorite one, or are they more like music related documentaries, or?
You know, I love watching music documentaries.
Yeah,
I love watching music documentaries. The Eagles one was great. I love that one a lot. What else have I watched? I'm reading I'm reading Chris Cornell's Total Fucking Godhead documentary biography right now. You know, man, Chris Cornell was like one of my absolute favorites. Just of all the celebrity musicians' deaths that happened within the last 5 years, for me, that one was one of the ones that was kind of the hardest to get over. You know,
absolutely. But, it came out of nowhere too. Yeah, devastating.
Yeah, such an amazing singer, songwriter, performer, just all around badass. Just, man, what a loss, you know. But
absolutely.
Yeah, tough stuff.
Yep. So, favorite curse word?
You know, it's kind of, it changes depending on circumstance. You know, I really think that the classic, you know, the classic Miles, my favorite is basically Miles Davis's favorite that I think he might not use on one page of the autobiography. Motherfucker is one of my favorites.
One of the best. And, well, not really underrated. It's used a lot, but
yeah,
it could be used a little more.
Yeah.
Are you a road rage guy? In the car?
Not like your brother of mine's mutual friend George Gallo.
Oh yeah, George. Yeah,
Oh,
I want to get him on here eventually, but yeah.
Yeah. Speaking of, shout out to George Gallo.
Yeah.
Speaking of guys that like these are guys that I've been friends with since I'm 12 years old. That Mike knows. George Gallo and his brother Joe Gruttola were like my heroes as a kid. They were a few years older than me, and you know, great freestylers, and they were kind enough to let me tag along with them when I was a little punk kid from the North Shore. And man, when George would we'd be driving around.
He's insane, man. He's insane. Yeah, he really is.
We'd be driving around to go to these trails, you know, that we heard of, that we were going to check out. And the traffic on Long Island is notoriously just horrible, you know. And
don't worry,
George would like jump to the you know, like there'd be 2 lanes going and 2 lanes coming and a shoulder. George would like get on the shoulder and drive like 90 miles an hour and then slam on the brakes, and everyone in the car's face would be pressed against him.
Yep.
Yeah, I mean, I remember
Insane.
several several times, you know, me, your brother Joe, and George being in the car and just bracing for impact. It was crazy, crazy times. Yeah, so getting back to the question, I don't have that level of road rage, but there's times where I definitely want to, you know, get out of the car with a baseball bat and take care of business. However, I don't. I think about I think about my daughter. You know,
of course.
I need to stick around and not get killed by someone that might be packing. Yeah.
Well, absolutely. Actually, the question was, I didn't ask it yet. So it was, what's your favorite road rage insult? Like, what's the go-to when someone cuts you off?
Oh, I thought you were just, yeah, do I have road rage? Favorite road rage insult?
Yeah.
Well, you know, if it gets to the point where someone's mad at me for something that I did, because let's face it, like, you know, I'm from New York, and I'm an aggressive driver. You know, I take my kind of Manhattan driving sensibilities and apply them to the California freeways. You know, like
right.
there's a line 1,000 cars long to take an exit, and I know that someone's going to be asleep at the wheel or on their phone, so I know I'm going to be able to do the move where you're the asshole move where you go to the front and dig in. You know, and sometimes people, you know, are on it and they're like, I'm not letting you in because, you know, I'm going to stay one car length. It's like the idiots, you know, if someone wants to get in, I let them in. You know what I mean? It's not going to add more than 10 seconds to my whole trip, maybe. Right. So, you know, if someone's confrontational with me, my favorite thing to do is especially if they pull up next to me and like they say something to me, like they're like, why did you do that? I'll look at them and I'll go, because you're very stupid.
That's great, man.
Yeah. because like it doesn't make any sense because like I'm at fault, you know. So that's my favorite. That's my favorite when I'm at fault. If I want to kill someone because of something that they did, you know, it's too dangerous to do the thing that I would have done in my 20s, where you like pull up in front of them and slow down. Like no, you know, that's it's a simple. At this point, it used to be my go-to used to be the finger, obviously, but
yeah.
At this point, man, it's just not worth my time to even have my pulse go up in this, you know, 1 degree. I pretty much just like go zen and just let it roll off now. I try to, at least.
Right.
It depends on the day. It's like, you know, when you're late, that's when things, you know.
Right. You start blaming everybody but yourself.
Get a little out of
it. You're late.
Like, it's funny you mentioned that, because yesterday, I live in Santa Monica. I had to go to Hollywood yesterday for something, which, you know, I kind of, at this point, I'm like, oh, you know, Hollywood, yay. So some of the streets in Hollywood are, you know, there's secret routes, so to speak. Like there's a street called Fountain, which is, you know, one of the secret routes. There's Beverly, and they're not secrets. They're just not as used as Sunset or Santa Monica Boulevard in various parts. You know, whatever. I'm not going to get into that, but I was behind like 3 or 4 cars, and the guy in the front, light turns green, nothing, you know, and I'm looking, I can see that there's no one in front of him. I'm like, maybe he's taking a left. I don't know what the deal is. So, and no one's beeping, because maybe they're all stoned. Maybe they're all on their phones. I don't know, because everyone's stoned in California or on their phone. So I'm like, all right, you know, like beeping, like leaning on it. Finally, the guy goes, get to the next light, same shit. And I'm like, you know, at this point, I want to go around the cars, cut this guy off, get out of the car, and go up to him and be like, you can't do this, man. You have to, you know, like you have to be considerate of other people. We have places to go, you douchebag. But that's another one I like. D-bag is one of my favorites.
That's a good one. Great one.
The ones that are percussive, like, you know, it's like douchebag. Anyway.
Yeah, they just have, they just have a punch to them, yeah.
I hope my boss doesn't see this, is all I gotta say.
Oh man, everyone's gonna see this. Yeah, what I do is I go on your Instagram and, you know, kind of stalk it a little bit, go through like an ex-girlfriend, go through some of the, you know, more recent ones and older ones, and we basically describe what is going on in the picture, just for the listeners, and then you tell me what's going on.
All right, sounds good.
Simple as that. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna share my screen with you. You're gonna see my screen. And I'm assuming you see it at this point.
Yep.
Okay. I'm going to move this over here. And I'm gonna bring up these pictures. Come on, you fuck. All right. All right, here we go. All right, here we go. We got Andy. We got Andy looking suave, standing next to you. A giant fucking box of pizza. I mean, it's bigger than your torso.
Yeah.
So what's going on here?
So what's going on? My buddy that I went to college with, Al, and I, we have a background, a similar background. We went to school at the same time. We've been through, the music wars together, and we, at various points in our life, we played in what we're to call event bands, basically like you play corporate events or weddings or things like that for lots of money. And we've always been the people that have been hired in those bands. So before COVID, we decided to get one together so that we're the people that are doing the hiring. So obviously that means we make substantially more money.
Gotcha.
So we rented out a place in Center Staging, which is where everyone rehearses, from Justin Bieber to everyone else. And we did a showcase, and that was part of the catering. So I was kind of dressed up for the occasion, and I spontaneously thought that would be a funny picture, and that's the story behind
that. Cool. Was the pizza good?
It was all right.
No, not New York pizza.
It definitely ain't Joe's on Carmine Street.
There you go. All right, so here we have. It looks like it's a very blue picture, but we have Andy on the drums, a gentleman over here.
I think it's got to be Christian. I can't really see. It's so small on you.
Yeah.
Oh, I can.
You're on the phone, right?
I can zoom. Yeah. Okay. Yeah, that's. Yeah.
The biggest part of this picture is this audience. Like, holy shit! So, do you remember what this was?
I don't remember the specific gig. It might say it in the description, but that's me and Christian Moraga and the gentleman in the middle of us, and a little bit smaller upstage a little bit, is Robbie Robinson, the musical director for Frankie, Valli and the Four Seasons. This is a show sometime within the last maybe year and a half, and I started this tradition of just like snapping a quick selfie right as the gig ended,
Right.
And me and Christian have been doing the gig together for, I got the gig before him. I was probably in the band for about maybe a year before him. And I got him on the gig. One of the percussionists left, and then I got my buddy Fausto. And then he left, and then they asked me for another percussionist. So I got a bunch of my Jedi friends to come and audition, and it was like they're all, overqualified for the gig. They're all geniuses. For whatever reason, they picked Christian because he's amazing and they like his vibe or whatever. And Christian and I have been very good friends since I moved to LA, and he's a lunatic. He's a good friend of mine, and that's a tame face for Christian. He usually if you see some of the other pictures, if you can find them, there's a specific Christian Moraga face that he does in pictures where he looks like he's in the middle of like a Kia kind of thing.
That's awesome.
That's at a Frankie gig.
Yeah.
Funny stuff.
All right, let's see. I believe this is you. If I'm not mistaken, and you have a big devil mask on. Is this your Blanco Diablo, your white devil?
Although Blanco Diablo has worn masks at certain gigs, that was, the idea. It was like a kind of a promo pic for that. But
right.
I think, no, that was actually taken at like an eyes wide shut kind of,
ooh.
Some kind of like, what's that Bilderberg group meeting where it was like me and Barack Obama, Bill Clinton, Bill Gates, the Maharishi, Gandhi, Jimi Hendrix, Miles Davis were at this party one night. That's at I want to say that's at a gift shop in San Francisco.
Okay.
And I think I can't remember if I took a selfie or someone took that of me, but yeah, that's just a random gift shop picture.
Well, I hope you bought it.
It's somewhere.
All right.
What else?
All right. So we got obviously Andy sitting here on the drums, or at least next to a bongo. And believe that is Danny Carey from Tool.
Yeah, I think that is Danny. Let me zoom in. Yeah, I play percussion as well. So that's actually not to be that guy, but that's a conga drum. Don't mean to correct you, but
no, please do. Dude, I'm a fucking idiot.
No,
when it comes to I'm from Long Island, dude. I pronounce everything wrong. I say everything wrong.
Dude, so am I, bro.
If it's not a bongo, it's a conga. Perfect.
But that's actually very funny thing that you should mention because I play with so many Latin dudes, like a lot of my friends, like Christian, for example, is from Chile, Fausto's from Texas, but he's Mexican. I got a lot of Cuban friends. I got a lot of Puerto Rican friends. And the joke is that like any ethnic instrument, especially if it's a drum, to quote unquote regular white American people, quote unquote, not and this is all tongue in cheek, mind you. Anything that's not a drum set is a fucking bongo. So that's perfect.
Yeah, it's like every Mexican food is a taco,
Totally. So yeah, that was taken at a gig. I play occasionally. I'll play with my buddy Jamie Kime, who was actually also in Frankie's band, among many other things. Incredible guitar player, great friend of mine, wonderful guy, awesome dude. That was, I think, actually, you know what? That might not have been a Jamie gig. I think that was my buddy Brian Charette's gig. He's from New York, and that place is called Alva's, and it's in San Pedro, down by Long Beach. I think San Pedro is where the scene in Usual Suspects, where they blow up the boat at the end and that whole thing. That's
wow.
So anyway, that's a little bit of Hollywoodness there for you.
Cool.
Yeah. So I, me and Danny, it's like the first time I played percussion. I've been friends with Danny for a long time since I moved to LA. He's a great dude, obviously an incredible genius drummer.
Yeah.
He came wanted to see me play at the Baked Potato. I'm like, dude, what are you doing here? Like, you should have a restraining order against me. I think I saw Tool on one tour maybe like 5 times because I'm a big Tool fan. I love the band. But anyway, so we became friends, and one time we were doing a gig, and the guy was like, why don't you come play percussion on it if Danny doesn't mind? So I did, and Danny's like, man, I haven't played with a percussionist since college. That was fun. So we started doing it, and it's been fun ever since. So I think that was Brian Charette's gig, if I'm not mistaken. But I also play typically with Danny when Jamie plays at the Baked Potato. I haven't been doing it recently because of the COVID thing. They're still doing Jamie's group, but it's too like kind of convoluted, too many people in too small an area if I were to be a part of it. So I also kind of been backing away from doing gigs. People have been asking me, and I've kind of just been quote unquote busy.
Yeah. So what do you think of the new Tool album? It's pretty epic.
It's ridiculous, man. I remember before it came out, about, I don't know, 6 months before it came out, a few of Danny's friends, and myself included, were at Danny's studio in Hollywood, and he played it for me, and I was just like listening to it and just shaking my head like, dude, such a I mean, all the records feature him kind of seemingly more and more. Back on Opiate, like, he's crushing the first EP, but and then Undertow a little bit more. Then when when Anima came out, he was really going for it to the point where they gave him a drum solo in 46 and 2. And then when Lateralis came out, just like, oh my God, even more than 10,000 Days. It's crazy. And now this record is like basically featured around Danny. It's amazing. I saw them
super drum heavy, the new one. Yeah.
Big time. I saw them twice on this last tour at Staples Center, and then me and my buddy Craig, one of the singers from Frankie's band, had never seen Tool, so we went down and saw him in San Diego, and that was pretty awesome too.
Yeah, that's awesome, man.
Yeah. Danny actually was the one that recommended me for a Sebastian Bach gig. So.
Oh no shit! Awesome.
Yeah. Thanks again, Danny.
I hope.
Lionel.
Yeah, so this is obviously Andy, and this is obviously Lionel Richie. What's not so obvious is I believe this is a fucking Bed Bath & Beyond. So I need to know how this happened, and yeah.
I know it sounds funny, but so I was at Bed Bath & Beyond, as you do. I think I was looking for some shower curtain ringlets. I'm kidding. I don't know what the hell I was doing.
Nobody knows what you're doing when you go there.
I know, it's the time vortex. So I see Lionel. And I've been a fan of his since I was a kid. And I just, it's like, what am I going to do? Am I not going to say hi to him? Am I going to leave him alone? Which is what I typically do to celebrities, because it's like, no one wants to be bothered. But I had heard he was a nice guy. And I've actually, in a few bands that I'm in, when we play covers, I typically sing Easy, which is, obviously a song that he sang with the Commodores way back when, that Faith No More ended up covering, and what a great song. So I went up and I just said, hey man, I don't want to bother you. I just want to say hello and tell you thank you for the music, and you're an amazing performer, and just wanted to say thanks. And he's like, oh, thank you, man. And he was immediately like, you can kind of tell if they're going to be cool or if they're not.
Yeah, sure.
And I immediately felt like instant warmth from him. Like
wow.
there was no like, oh, I'm some big deal, which he is. And God bless him. But he was immediately warm. So judging by that, I didn't just back off. Like, he started talking to me. He said, oh, so what do you do? I said, well, typically I'm a drummer and I play with this guy. And he goes, oh, wow. Okay. So immediately he sort of treats me like a peer, because
sure.
like I'm obviously not 18, and I play with people that he knows who the hell they are. And actually, funny enough, Lionel and Frankie did a duet on Grease when Grease was really hot. The soundtrack of the movie, the song was written by Barry Gibb, and Frankie sang it. But there's footage online. It's pretty badass. Like the Commodores playing Grease with Frankie and Lionel out front. The outfits are outrageous, and it's super funky. It's great.
Yeah.
You should check.
I'm definitely gonna check that out.
Yes, I told Lionel. I said, funny man. I've been singing Easy the last few months, and a couple of cover bands. He goes, yeah, man, I could tell you got that in you.
You sound just like him.
He was just so warm and nice. And yeah, the whole exchange lasted maybe 3-4 minutes.
Right.
And that was that.
I'm not gonna lie to you. I was hoping like you knew him. You know what I mean? Like you didn't meet him, and that you guys decided to go to Bed Bath & Beyond together and take a nice selfie. But it's a cool story nonetheless.
Yeah, I typically don't get starstruck just because I know that everyone is just, like when I met Frankie the first time, I'm like, oh, this is like one of the guys that my dad would go have coffee with and talk about,
right.
Whatever.
Yeah, no, definitely. So once again, we have another encounter here. Andy's got some shorter hair here, but he's standing next to, I don't even know who this is. No, I'm just kidding. Fucking Jack White, man.
Nope.
Are you serious? That's not Jack White?
I was wondering where this was going. That's hysterical. And Jason's going to love that. Not gonna yeah, that's my buddy Jason Sutter, who's a great drummer, a really good friend. He definitely has that look for sure.
Wow, I was 100% sure. Okay.
Whether he's trying to cultivate that look or not, he's got it. Yeah, Jason's a great drummer. Another LA guy. He, I think, currently plays for Cher, and he plays like a bazillion piece drum kit at her show in Vegas. And he's a badass. And dude can play some, he can play many styles. He also, going back a little bit to earlier, we were talking about Chris Cornell. He played with Chris Cornell for a little while. So I'm super, super jealous of Jason for playing with Chris Cornell.
Yeah.
And proud of him for doing so. And what an incredible honor and privilege it must have been for him. But yeah, Jason's incredible. He bounces from big gig to big gig. He's done like Marilyn Manson and a bunch of other stuff. He's a badass.
Wow.
And what's up, Jason? Love you, buddy. Miss you.
What's up, Jason? Sorry for mistaking you for Jack White, but well, listen, that's not a bad thing. I mean, the hat, the hair, the whole nine.
Yeah, wow. He's a good-looking man.
All right.
That's funny.
Let's move on. All right, so this has really nothing to do with you. But I've seen this, and I know what this is, obviously, but I've seen this on your page a few times, so I was like, I got to grab a picture. So we got a puppet of Kim Jong-il in Team America, World Police.
Fuck yeah.
America, yeah, fuck yeah. So yeah, what's going on with this? What's your
every once in a while where I kind of just can't take the stupidity that's that we're surrounded with.
Yeah.
On so many different levels, man. Like everyone's got an opinion. Everyone thinks they're right. Everyone, and it's just like, and then you just cut to this cute little puppet that says, "Why is everyone so fucking stupid?"
Wow, that's good. Yeah.
It's like can't we all just get over ourselves, man? It's
right.
And I'm not saying can't we all just get along, because I know that we clearly can't. But man,
that's
like,
for sure.
When I wake up every day and see what's going on and everyone's got their opinions, it's just like, man, like, you're not that important. Just get over yourself. No matter how many influencer, no matter how many people you're influencing or whatever, it's just your opinion. Like, I don't care, with all due respect, which, like, I don't know how much respect is due. Like, I don't care what Kim Kardashian thinks about anything, it's
definitely not.
It's like, yes, she's pretty, good for her. Show me how to apply makeup if that's, but like, as far as like, I mean, and I don't mean to single her out. That's not really fair. But it's just,
no, it's fair. Fuck her.
yeah. But it's so odd being around people that think their opinion matters more than others, man. It's just tragic.
With that being said, though, there's no better place to turn than Trey Parker and Matt Stone.
Those dudes, masters,
fucking geniuses, man. And they know how to take things that are actually happening and just, I mean, obviously it's funny, but I feel like the message that they convey or the point they try to get to in South Park or any of their movies is like the truth.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, in a way, like, it's better than the news. It's better than anyone's opinions. It's just kind of like, oh shit, yeah, I never thought of it that way. I think they're right.
Yeah, I mean, just staying with Team America for a second, like, just the opening sequence where they go to get the terrorists in France at the Louvre and just come in and just blow everything up. Like, yeah. It's like France was just, being France, and everyone was eating brie and drinking, coffee. And then we come in and blow up the Louvre and like, no, you're all safe now. And we're all like high-fiving each other, and then we turn around and go home. That's kind of what we do.
9/11 times a million.
And I'm a patriot, man. I love America.
Of course.
I'm a patriot, absolutely. I think we've got work to do, man, for sure.
Big time.
And man, like, I understand the frustration of all the, the groups that are protesting. I fully support, the fact that everyone should be treated equally and people shouldn't be, targeted by police. And obviously what happened to George Floyd and Breonna Taylor were horrible tragedies. I 100% agree with that. And I think what's getting lost is that, like, make America great again. It's like, no, because like America's like always been in the process of becoming great. We're not great yet, but we're trying, and if you think about globally, we're not infallible. We don't even have a good track record, but like fundamentally, like what we want to do idealistically from the, from the original onset of what they were trying to accomplish one day, we're going in that direction. So these are growing pains we're going through, and hopefully there will be, some good changes made because of these horrible things that have happened. And it's not like it's going to ever end. There are always going to be bad things in the world. There just are. But we try to do our best. We try to learn from it and make some changes. So
absolutely.
So what do you got next?
Next up, we got, my wife keeps telling me I got to do like this slideshow instead of what I do. And she's right. It takes fucking forever.
Women,
All right.
women to be right.
They tend to be right. Yeah.
Oh, this one.
Well, this was just out of curiosity. So here we just have a pair of garden shears with a white background, and I need to know what's
Oh man,
what's going on.
That's I that's kind of an inside joke.
Fair enough. Fair enough.
Yeah, I mean, basically, it kind of goes in tandem with the one that you just showed. It's like when people are like blah 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 blah. You just want to like. So the idea behind those specific garden shears is that if you open them up, you could fit someone's head right in there. Really. So,
yeah. Listen, that's all you need to say. You got it.
Use your imagination.
Got it. I was just wondering. I mean, drummer, garden shear. I was just like, what?
Yeah. When people won't shut up, you just cut their head off.
So here, obviously, we have Conan O'Brien.
Wow. Yeah,
standing next to Andy.
Looking extra hairy.
Was this another chance encounter, or were you on the show, or what?
I was playing percussion, not with Danny Carey this time, at some sort of religious ceremony in either, I think it was in Bel Air or, yeah, I think it was in Bel Air, some super exclusive neighborhood. And Conan was invited to the party. And that was before the gig started. I went to the hotel bar to have a couple of drinks because I was like, this is the kind of gig where I don't really have to concentrate all that much. It's just like, plus I'm playing percussion, which, So anyway, I sit at the bar. I think I was actually drinking it's incredible that I can remember because of meeting Conan what I was drinking. I was drinking a Peroni, which is an Italian beer. And Conan sits down next to me randomly, and I happen to play with Jerry Vivino, who is in the Late Night with Conan O'Brien band when that existed. So I've been playing with Jerry for a long time now. And he sits down, he kind of looks over and goes, "Hey, what's happening?" He goes, "Hey, how are you?" And I go, don't want to bother you, but we have a mutual friend. Jerry Vivino goes, "Oh, nobody's perfect." And he made a joke out of it. And we kind of just started chatting. And immediately, again, with something like that, because I know Jerry, who he's known for 25 years or whatever, it's immediately like, I'm not fanboy. I'm just like some dude, and we have a mutual friend, and we're just having a beef at the bar. So I don't get starstruck. The only time I got anyway, so that's the story behind that.
Yeah.
But the only time I was starstruck, I mean, when I got to LA, I immediately saw a bunch of people that were like A-listers randomly. Like I was at some party in Malibu, and not to be the guy that drops names, but like they were there, so whatever. It's like Robert Downey Jr., Jon Favreau, Tom Hanks, like absurd people at this party that I happen to end up randomly being at. Mm-hmm. And it's like, and I, like I see these people and it's like, oh, cool. I don't really give a shit, but there they are. They breathe air, they eat hors d'oeuvres, they have a couple of drinks, and they got to go to the bathroom like everyone else. So yeah, it's like, so then, cut forward a year or two, I go to the Grammys with a couple of people. I end up meeting all these other people. I end up at a party, and it's like Robert Plant is there. And I'm like, Jesus, for me, it's like, doesn't really get any better than that. So, and again, not starstruck, happen to end up next to him. I just said like, hey, I know you hear it a million times a day, but thank you so much. Your music has made my life so much better. I just, just wanted to say that. He's like, he's really sweet, nice. Oh, thank you, mate. Yeah, nice to meet you. Just, again, beautiful. So like, again, I don't get starstruck until like one day I'm at the gym in Hollywood, and I'm leaving the gym, and it's right next to a movie theater on Sunset Boulevard. This is when I still lived on the East Side. And I'm walking out of the gym, and I see and stop in my tracks because I see Wayne Shorter, and you're like, probably who the hell is Wayne Shorter? Wayne Shorter is one of my absolute jazz, gods. He's a tenor saxophonist. He also plays alto. A soprano. He was in Miles Davis's second great quintet with Tony Williams, Ron Carter, Herbie, Wayne, and Miles. And he went out to go and found Weather Report with, Jaco Pastorius, Joe Zawinul, Alphonse, you know, all these brilliant guys.
Yeah.
So I wasn't, I was just in, you know, I was in my own head, and then I see one of my absolute jazz heroes, and I kind of freeze in my tracks, and I quickly, like, I look at him, and I'm like, "You're Wayne, right?" And he's like, "Yeah." And he kind of like, "Chill, it's cool." You know, like I was starstruck then. So I go, "Well, what are you doing here, man? You going to work out?" You know? And, you know, I mean, Wayne at that time was probably like 75, or, you know. She's like, "Nah, man, I was just checking out the new Spider-Man movie." And he's like so abstract, and he has all these really interesting ways of communicating, like on an astral level, you know, Wayne's genius like that. So he's like, you know, the composer for the Spider-Man thing was Danny Elfman. And he kind of like, he goes, "Yeah, man, like Danny Elfman." And he puts his hands up like he's playing piano. He's like, "Danny Elfman's getting into some new shit, man." And I'm like, "Oh my God, you're so cool. You're 78 and you're like the coolest dude ever."
Right,
you know?
right. Yeah.
So I do my standard thing. I'm like, "Man, I just appreciate you so much. You know, from the stuff with Miles and Art Blakey and Weather Report, you made my life better. And I just want to say thank you." And he's like, "Oh man, thank you." I said, "I'm going to leave you alone because I'm about to like spaz out and go fanboy on." So yeah, that was that.
Yep. No, I hear you, man. I'm the same way. In you know, depending on who I meet, sometimes I go, I'm an idiot. I'm just like I'm like a blubbering, like I don't even know what I'm saying.
Yeah.
But so real quick, you had a Peroni. Did he have a Guinness?
Man, I don't remember what Conan drank. I don't remember what Conan was drinking. Sorry.
It's all good. I'm just wondering, you know, Italian, Irish beer, you know.
Conan's funny as hell, man. I always love him.
He's amazing. All right, so last but not least, we got we got a Raggedy Ann doll. Its head is in the toilet with Grey Goose. I don't know how to say. Was this Sambuca? Is that how you say that?
Sambuca. Yeah.
And I don't know what this last one is, but we got 3 bottles of Doers. Yeah. So we got 3 bottles of liquor. Raggedy Ann in the toilet. What's going on here?
Yeah. So before I called my band Blanco Diablo, I called my band Raggedy Andy.
Okay. No, that's cool.
Well, just because, you know, like I kind of look like a bit of a raggedy mess, you know, and my name's Andy. I thought it was kind of just funny. So I had a gig at the world famous Baked Potato, and I was visiting my parents when they were in Florida, which, you know, up until the last 3 years, my dad passed in 2017, and then my mom moved out here to be, you know, I moved her out here to have her closer to me about 3 years ago. And anyway, so that was when they were living in Florida. I had a gig coming up, and I needed to do a promotional, just like a little flyer or whatever. And most people typically like to put their best foot forward and like smile and look all like, "Hey, you know, I'm a salesman and come to my gig." I'm like the opposite. You know, it's like, let the music speak for itself. And I thought it was funny as hell to have, you know, a picture of a puppet that drank 3 different kinds of alcohol and ended up vomiting in the toilet. So that was in the bathroom next to my dad's office down in Florida. Right. And that's just me being a dope.
It's a great album cover, to be honest with you.
I thought so. I'm glad you appreciate it.
Absolutely. Absolutely, man. So you know what? That wraps that up. Let me get out of here. And we're back. Andy.
Yes, sir.
That wraps it up, man. Thank you so much for being here. I really appreciate it. Not only an amazing drummer, but a great friend to me now, but my entire family.
Love your family.
Thank you so much, man.
Tell them I said hi. Thanks for having me, man.
Of course. Appreciate it. Of course. Now, I have to ask everybody, on a scale from 1 to hell fucking yeah, how much did you enjoy being here today?
You asking me?
I'm asking you.
You talking to me?
I'm talking to you.
I'd have to give it a hell fucking yeah, bro.
Hell fucking yeah. Awesome.
Hell yeah.